Hey, welcome to Riverside. Today we're going to be doing our very first ever Fields Notes episode. And really briefly, what a Fields Notes episode is where we mix fishing and faith. And I know you're probably like, wait a second, isn't that the whole goal of Riverside? Isn't that what you've always done? Yes. Yes, it is. But I was looking through my archive of old videos and I found out that almost all of my videos are only about faith. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of faith podcasts out there. There's a lot of fishing podcasts out there. But what I want this to be is something where not only do you grow spiritually, I want you to also grow in your knowledge and understanding of fishing. And so what you're going to get with these Field Notes episodes are fishing tips, fishing tricks, different tactics that you could use for whenever you're out there on the water, seasonal tactics, seasonal tips. We're going to talk about industry news, things that are going on in the fishing world, and it's going to be very fishing focused for the first half of the episode. And the second half of the episode will always have a faith component, somewhere we can dive into scripture. I really want to start doing like a walkthrough of a book of the Bible, or maybe like the prison epistles or something like that, where you're not just learning about fishing, but you're also learning about faith. I think it's a very important thing. Like I said, when it comes to Riverside, there's so many faith podcasts out there. You can find a million podcasts that strictly talk about faith. You can find a million podcasts that strictly talk about fishing. But how many podcasts out there effectively, that's the key word, effectively combine the two, fishing and faith, to where you're not just growing your faith, but you're also growing your fishing knowledge and your fishing instincts and how good you are as an angler. And so that's kind of the goal of these Field Notes episodes. If you're wanting to grow your faith and also learn about fishing and talk about fishing, then this is the place for you. Now today, I strictly want to talk about the future of Riverside. I know you're probably like, wait a second, what about the fishing and faith stuff? Are we going to talk about tips and tricks? I know we normally will, but not today. Today's episode, I want to talk about the future of Riverside. The reason for it is because lately, over the past few months, really, I've been kind of wrestling with Riverside. What does it need to be? And here's kind of why I started wrestling with it. You got to realize Riverside started as a random Instagram page. It wasn't some well-funded well-oiled machine. It wasn't anything like that. It was literally an Instagram page where I posted fishing videos and pictures and talked about Jesus. And I didn't think it would really go anywhere. I hoped it would. I thought it'd be fun if it would. But that's growing an Instagram page into a ministry. It's not an easy thing to do. And so it started off as an Instagram page where I talked about fishing and faith, and it slowly grew into a ministry where I've connected to people worldwide. And that's not me patting myself on the back. That's not me saying, oh, look at Riverside. What that is I'm just amazed at what God has done through Riverside, through a guy who talks about fishing and faith. It's been so cool to watch. Like, I've made friends and connections with people all throughout the country. Literally every state of the entire country. I've made connections, and I've talked to people and encouraged people and been encouraged by them. And it's been so cool. Not only that, but you look at literally across the entire world. I've made friends and connections in Australia, in Europe, in Nepal, Canada, Africa, South America, Mexico, like Middle America, not just Mexico, Middle America. Like, I've made so many connections over the last 5 years with so many people, and I'm just amazed at it. And again, it just started off as a small Instagram page. Now, what's cool about it is over the last few months, I've really been wrestling with it. Does this need to be a hobby? Does this need to remain kind of a hobby, something that I do on the side? Or do I need to start treating this like the ministry that it's grown into? And that's kind of where I'm at with Riverside. That's kind of where I've been with Riverside. That's the question that I've been trying to answer. And it's a difficult question to answer. Do I want this to be just a hobby that I kind of do on the side, or does this need to become a full-fledged ministry? Well, I've been doing a lot of praying about it. I've talked with my wife about it. I've talked to mentors about it and fellow pastors about it. I've been talking to a lot of different people about it. And the more that it continues on, the more I don't know. I have something within me that's like, dude, I feel like I'm being called to just pour into it. I feel like I'm being called to just full send, go for it, and see what God does with it. And what's funny is that's kind of how I lived my life. I mean, I look back through different points in my life, and I've always had that just go for it mentality. Whether it was back when I was trying to get in the military, when it was back when I was doing law enforcement, trying to get in that field, when it was back when I was part of the EPO and warrant unit, whatever it's been, I've always had this mentality of like, that's what I want in life. That's what I want to do. Attack it. And it's worked out well for me. I got to be honest. I haven't accomplished everything I've wanted to do. There have been times when I kind of hit a wall and just fail. Like that's happened many times. But there's also been many times where it works out. And it works out well. And that's, I don't know, that's just kind of how I live my life. It's like, whether it's ministry or whether it was law enforcement or sports or whatever it was, it's like, just go for it. What's the worst that could happen? You're going to fail? So what? People fail all the time. And what happens when you fail? You get up and you do it again. Or you find something else to fail at. Or you find something else to succeed at. Like, you can't catch a fish unless your line is in the water. Go for it. What are you waiting for? And so that's kind of how I lived my life. That's kind of what I've been wrestling with lately. Is, again, do you want to treat this as like a hobby, or do you want to treat this like a ministry and just full send, diving in head first, go for it? And so that's what I've been doing. With that wrestling of what this needs to be, comes with, it comes with a lot of, structural change. How does Riverside operate? How does it work? How is it efficient? How can I be the most impactful with it, to where I'm not just kind of treating it as something I do on the side, but again, it's something that, like, every day I'm trying to think of, like, how can I further Riverside? How can I further reaching people with Riverside? How can I further the gospel, God's kingdom, through fishing, of all things? And so it's kind of been a challenge to think through, okay, what do I need to do to take this next step forward? But that's what I've been praying about and thinking through lately. I've really been getting into bass fishing, kind of switching gears here. I've really been getting into bass fishing lately. And it really started with some of my youth students, which, if you know me, you know I love youth ministry. You know I adore my students. I just love them so much. I think about our youth group right now. We have so many good students, and they're just ready to learn and grow, and just some good kids. But some of my students are also fishermen, and it's kind of this fun thing where, like, we get to fish together and grow together in faith. It's just awesome. But my students are bass fishermen. They don't do fly fishing too much. I got one student who does fly fishing. Shout out Braden. But I got one student who does fly fishing, and he does probably more bass fishing, if I'm being honest. So I have some students who do a lot of bass fishing, and they've been trying to get me to get a bait caster forever. But for so long, I've been holding out, because I love fly fishing. If you know me, I just love it. It's a beautiful sport. I think it's an art in certain ways. Like, it's an art form. I just love fly fishing. And so I was reluctant to get a bait caster. I finally got one. I caved. I got a bait caster, and I've been addicted, just completely hooked since I started bass fishing with a bait caster. And one thing, I think it's just more versatile. I think that's really the thing that I like about it, because, fly fishing is really big up north, out west. You can do it in Kentucky. There's creeks and rivers here too, and I love creek fishing. Oh my goodness, it's so fun. But you can do fly fishing here, but there are so many occasions where fly fishing just doesn't really work out here in Kentucky. I go to a lot of ponds and lakes by our house, and these are ponds and lakes where you got trees right behind you. You have no backcast. It doesn't exist. And so you got to kind of be creative and learn how to do a really effective roll cast or something to get your fly in the water. And it's not always easy. It doesn't always make the most sense. And that's where a bait caster shines. It's very versatile. I can fish any body of water that I want with a bait caster. Same thing with like a spin reel. But I've been focusing a lot on bass fishing. It's been a blast. I got started off really in spring, late spring, and it's funny because late spring hits, you still got that spring bite, and it seems like I was just pulling out fish left and right. It was a great time, and then summer hit, and I feel like I've hit a wall, and that's what the next episode will be about. Really, like the slumps that fishermen go through, and also Christians go through. But I feel like I've hit just a total wall when it comes to bass fishing, and it's been a struggle. I'm gonna be honest with you; it's just been a total struggle to learn, not just learn the ins and outs of bass fishing, which is similar. Like I've caught bass fly fishing too. Don't get me wrong, but when you're specifically out there just targeting bass, it's a different ball game. It really is. There's a lot to learn. I've been on a big learning curve lately, so I've been learning the ins and outs of bass fishing, trying to figure out what's best. But man, summer hit, and I've just hit a brick wall when it comes to bass fishing, and I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's relatable. I feel like a lot of bass fishermen struggle when summer hits just because it gets hot. Fish change differently. If you're bank fishing, especially, bass fishing can be difficult. I really want to get a boat. But man, it's been a struggle. So we'll see how it goes. I've been having fun. That's really all that matters. I've been learning a lot about bait casters, how they work, how they operate, how to be effective with them, how to not constantly get backlashed and tangled up, birds nested. Learning about how bass behave and just the ins and outs of it, different lures. It's been a blast. So moving forward, don't get me wrong, I'll still talk quite a bit about fly fishing. I love fly fishing, but man, bass fishing, it's got me right now. I'll be honest with you. So you'll see a lot of bass fishing content here as we move forward with these Field Notes episodes. As far as Riverside content goes, I do want to touch on this because there's been a big change in kind of what I've been focusing on lately. And I guess that change starts with just admitting I hit a point early spring, wintertime, really wintertime, where I was just kind of getting exhausted with Riverside and not really just Riverside as a whole, really just content creation. Creating content, I just got tired of it. And I think a big portion of it is that it's multifaceted. Not to use that word, but I feel like Jordan Peterson when I use that word. It's the multifaceted. Not to be too complicated, but it's multifaceted. There's a lot of reasons that I was getting kind of burnt out. One, short form content, I love it. It has its purpose, but if you're trying to build an audience on short form content, good luck. There's got to be something there where your followers can meet you and talk to you and have some kind of community. And building a community on short form content alone, I find it difficult. It doesn't fit what I want it to be. It doesn't make sense for what I want Riverside to be, just focusing on short form content. And really, that's what I focused on for a long time. I grew my Instagram page to 10,000 followers, which is really cool to do, really fun, and it's just a blessing to be able to witness as it continues to grow. But I grew my Instagram to 10,000 followers, and it's kind of funny. I don't know what I expected when I hit that, but I hit 10,000 followers, and I'm like, dude, I really don't feel like I have a community here. Like, I don't feel like there's any connection. It's like I've made friends all across the world. I've made connections, but have they connected? Have they been able to meet each other, and have we been able to build a community where we can all get together and fellowship somehow, even if it's online, but fellowship and talk and make connections? And that's just, it hasn't happened. Instagram's not built for it. And so that's kind of what it's part of the struggle with creating short form. It's just not, if you want to create community, it's just not it. You need something more than that. Not only that, but Instagram itself, I find, I don't know, it's weird. Like, you'll make content and you would hope that the people who follow you get to see your content because they followed you. That means they want to see more, right? But if you look at the stats, and I'm not an Instagram expert, but if you look at the stats of it, like, you could make content and I think it's like 2% of your followers will even see it. And so it feels very much like, why am I putting this much effort into creating content if only a small percentage of my followers even know it exists? And so again, I've been rethinking what I put my main focus on and how I continue to grow Riverside looking forward. And so really, I guess the change that I'm trying to talk about is I'm really focusing more on long form content. Stuff where you don't just kind of see it and scroll past it, but you sit with it. And whether it's you listen to a podcast or watch a film, you sit with it and you're intentional about consuming it. And so that's kind of what I've been wanting to build lately. And so what Riverside will look like going forward, I'm going to kind of focus on a few main things. And one of the main things that I want to really focus on is long form content, specifically films. And I love fishing films. Fishing films is what got me into Riverside. That's what inspired it. I got really inspired by Wildfly Productions. I doubt I'll see this, but if you know Wildfly Productions out there, his name is Scott. He's a fly fisherman, and he makes films. That's all he does. That's how he makes his living, is making films, making fly fishing films. And that's a lot more work than you realize. But I just love it. It's such a beautiful thing. You're able to tell a story and to some degree take your audience and bring them on the fishing trip with you, to where they're not necessarily right next to you, but in some way they're experiencing the trees, and they're experiencing the fish and the atmosphere, and they're listening to the story that you learned and you get to tell through your film. And so I love fly fishing. I love films. I love fishing films. And so that's one thing I want to focus a lot more on is creating films. If you go to my YouTube channel, which this will be posted onto my YouTube channel, by the way. It's going to be posted on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. But if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see my latest film. It's actually it's called, oh boy, where is it? It is called I Took My Daughter Fishing and Forgot Why We Came, episode 52. That's a short film, 6 minutes long. It's not a long video, but from the feedback that I've gotten, it's an impactful video. And it's really simple. It's nothing crazy. Long story short, I took my daughter fishing, and I was there to catch fish and try to see what I could get into. My daughter was there just to have fun. And so as I'm out with my daughter taking her fishing, I'm like, wait a second, this needs to be a story. This needs to be a film. I need to tell my audience about this. And I think the best, most impactful way I can do that is through films. And so I'll be focusing a lot more on films. Creating stories that you can watch and come on that journey with me. Another thing that I really want to do is continue making podcast episodes. Field Notes. This is going to be hopefully something where we can all gather and talk about fishing and faith. I want to make them as often as possible. They're going to be real simple, nothing crazy, but real simple. And I want to talk about fishing. I want to talk about what lures to use, what tactics to use, what tips and tricks to use, fish behavior. How do bass and trout, how do they behave in different times of the year? There's so much to talk about when it comes to fishing. I love fishing. I know so many of you do. So let's talk about it. And not only are we going to talk about fishing, we're going to talk about faith. This is where we'll spend time going through books of the Bible, talking about Bible stories, getting into the ins and outs of theology. And so it's going to be a mixture where we talk about both, and I love that. Like this what I'm envisioning doesn't exist. And that's what's encouraging to me as far as like growing Riverside is it doesn't exist. Again, I said it earlier, there are many Christian podcasts out there where they talk about faith and Bible and theology. And they're fantastic. I love them. They're great. I listen to them myself. And there are many, 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 many fishing podcasts out there where they talk about gear and tackle and fish behavior and tips and tricks. Like but I've yet to find any podcast out there that effectively mixes the two. You might have a fishing podcast that mentions faith, and you might have a faith podcast that mentions fishing, But from what I can tell, there's nothing that's dedicated to both. You're going to grow your fishing knowledge, and you're also going to grow your faith. From what I've experienced in my 5 or 6 years doing this, what I'm creating doesn't exist. The closest thing is, what's his name? The greeting call. But he's a hunter. He's not into fishing. It's very similar, but he's more of a hunter. And so that's another thing that I really want to pour my time into is creating these podcasts where you can listen on your way to work, and you can comment, and you can get involved, and we can have some type of interactions together, and again build that community. I will be making short form content moving forward, but the goal will be different. The goal is not to make community. The goal is not to build community. The goal is simply think of like a funnel. You want the people, you want your audience to go through the funnel. Like at the bottom of it is your films and your podcasts. The top of the funnel, the thing that attracts people to the podcast, to the films, is your short form content. So I will be making short form content, but the goal and the outlook of short form content with Riverside is different. It's no longer the focus. It's excuse me. It's no longer the focus. It's more of this is designed to get you deeper into this ministry. I'd love to do interviews with outdoorsmen and fishermen. There's a few out there that I got my eye on. If they'd ever answer their messages, but there's a few out there that I got my eye on. I want to talk to them. I want to just interview them, talk to them about, hey, how did you get to where you're at? Because I know for a fact that this experience that I have of connecting with God through nature, through fishing, I know that I'm not alone. This is something that as I've continued to do this ministry, I've met more and more Christians who are like, I connect best with God with a fishing rod in my hand. You're not alone. There's so many Christians who love fishing, who connect with God through outdoors, through nature, through fishing. I want to talk to them. Just see their experiences too. And so that's kind of where Riverside's heading. It's a lot more focused on long form content that's designed for fishermen, for Christians to grow their fishing knowledge and instincts, and also grow their faith deeper. And that's kind of the goal. Last thing that I want to talk about is I always feel awkward talking about it because I don't know, it just feels weird. But as Riverside continues to grow, something that I'm going to have to figure out is funding. And I can't get around it. Simply put, this ministry costs money. Even just the fishing aspect of it. Fishing lures, fishing rod, fishing gear. All that stuff just takes money. And I hate to ask for it. It's just this weird thing. But if I'm going to continue this ministry and reach people through films, through podcasts, through all this stuff, that's part of it. Another thing that costs money, like subscription services. I got a video editing service or script software that requires a subscription. That takes money. There are different things like what is it? Epidemic Sound. It's a website that allows you to use royalty-free music for videos. That way you can put a video on YouTube with music and make it look good and sound good. But that it won't get copyrighted. It won't get copyright struck. We won't get struck down by copyright. That's what I'm trying to say. And so there's things like that. There's different services that I use to further the ministry. Like MailChimp it's a emailing service. Like all that stuff costs money. So you got the fishing gear, all that stuff costs money. You got the different subscriptions and all the things on the technical side that cost money. And then, simply put, a lot of time and effort goes into making films, writing podcasts, writing sermons, writing lessons, studying scripture so that I can teach it effectively. All this stuff takes time. And I wish I could count the hours that I've poured into Riverside thus far. I've poured hours and hours and hours and hours into Riverside trying to just get it to where it is now. And, I've never asked for money before, but at some point, it's like if I'm going to continue this and really treat it like the ministry that it actually has grown into, uh, I don't know. That's time that's taken away from my family. That's time that gets taken away from if I needed to find a second job. That's time that would get taken away from that. Like I'm treating this like a full time job. I'm treating this like a ministry again, and again that just takes time. It takes money, and so I've been hesitant to ask in the past, but I'm getting to the point where I don't really have a choice. If this ministry continues and continues to grow, and if I want this ministry to continue to reach new people and encourage Christians around, like at some point it's going to require funding. And so if you'd like to support this ministry, if you'd like to watch this ministry grow, man, I'd appreciate it. I really would. I don't know how this can continue on in any real way without funding. And so I've made a Patreon account. That's where you can go and support the ministry. It's like $10 a month. It's not much. I'm not trying to ask people for give me $100. I'm not asking anything crazy, but $10 a month surprisingly goes a long way in helping this ministry continue to grow throughout the years. So if you can, I'll put the link somewhere in the description or something. If you can support the ministry, and if you want this ministry to grow, if you believe in this ministry, man, please consider supporting, because it's there's no other way. It's at some point I have to seek funding, or else this ministry won't be able to exist. So that's kind of where I'm at. I know I just kind of rambled for 26 minutes, but that's where we're at. It's been a crazy journey to see what God's done through Riverside, and I know it's just the beginning. Like, where's Riverside going to be in 5-10 more years? I don't know. I don't know where it'll be, but it's been crazy to watch as it grows and continues to expand and reach new people and encourage Christians all over the place. And I don't know, I'm humbled. I really am. I'm just blown away. I've made so many friends through Riverside and made so many connections, and I can just think about just so many people. And I don't know, it's just it's crazy. So thank you. Really, what I'm trying to say. If you're out there and you've supported Riverside, if you've supported me in this ministry, like from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I cannot thank you enough. It's just, oh my gosh, it's just crazy. Anyways, that's the podcast. Fish hard, follow Christ. I'll see you next time.